I already stole once in my life. I don't need to steal again. When I remember, have I told you guys the story where I stole that little plushie? When I was really, really young calf. I was a young calf. There was a plushie, a fox plushie a little girl had in my daycare center. And I loved it so much, and I had like, I don't know what I had, and I had like some beat up like a doll, and I told her, hey, you want to train? And she's like, no, I don't want to train. My fox plushie is mine. And I'm like, please, can I play with your fox plushie just for like 5 minutes, please? You can play with Betty for 5 minutes. And she was like a little brat. She's like, no sharing, no sharing, she told me. And I'm like, okay. And I started to cry, and I was like, and I told the lady came, and she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I want to play with her fox plushie, and she won't let me borrow it. She let me. So she actually convinced the girl to give the fox to me. For 5 minutes. It was for 5 minutes. So I had to play close to her. So I was playing with the little fox close to her, and I fell in love with the fox. I fell in love with the fox plushie. I fell in love with it so much, and afterwards, like, I didn't want to give it back to her. I want to give it back to her, but I had to, like, and they forced it out of me, and because the little girl started to cry like extremely loud, and so but I fell in love with that fox plushie. I fell in love with it so much that in my head I deemed it was mine. I deemed it was mine. It was mine. It was to be mine. It was to be mine. One day, like, I think we were playing in the sand, right? From what I remember, we were playing in the sand. Yeah, I'm remembering this correctly. And she always brought that fox plushie with her everywhere. And when I first played with it, like, I abandoned Betty. Betty was no longer worth of my time. I had my eyes set on that little fox. And so one day she was playing in the sand with it, and she got up and she left the fox plushie, and I grabbed the fox plushie and I dug it in the sand. Yeah, I was pretty smart. Evil, obnoxiously smart. And I dug it in the sand, and then I put like a little, like, something to remember that it was there. I think it was like a stone or a leaf. And then afterwards, she called everyone, and the girl came back and she couldn't find the fox plushie. I was like, and so what happened was that she couldn't find it, and then everyone like went back, and I couldn't leave the fox plushie there. So I think from what I remember, I had like a little hoodie on, like, and I took the fox into the hoodie part of my hoodie, and then I put my hood on. And I took the fox and I basically hid it behind, I think it was like behind one of the toilets or something like that. It wasn't in the toilet, but it was like behind one of the toilets. And I left it there, and then so afterwards, like, close to the ending of daycare, they were looking everywhere for the fox, and they assumed somebody stole it, and so they went into everyone's bags, like their backpacks, to look for it, right? And then they're like, Milky, can I see your backpack? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. I have nothing in the backpack. And I guess but for some reason, I knew how to play it out really well. Like, I knew how to play it out really well. I wasn't suspicious, which is kind of crazy. And so I looked through my backpack, and nothing was found. And the parents of that little girl, I knew that the parents of the little girl always came early. They always came early, and they always came early like in a rush. Like I think they must have had to go somewhere else. And so they would pick her up, and they saw her crying, and they're like, "What's happening?" And you should have saw the mom was actually really upset. I remember the mom being upset and saying, that's her favorite plushie. She's had that since she's a baby. I'm like, you have to find the plushie. She's like, no, don't worry, sweetie. We'll buy you another one. She's like, it's not the same. They were always really sweet, and I was just like, maybe just like bitter. maybe it was more. Maybe it was deeper than just wanting the fox plushie. Maybe I just wanted that like little part of her, perfect little life, I guess, that she had, or what that I perceived that she had, because for me it was pretty much the opposite. Like my parents never came to pick me up. I had to wait until my older bro came out of his school. So yeah. And so what happened was they left with her screaming, and then afterwards I waited, and since the backpack checking was over, I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom again. I went to the bathroom and I took him into my backpack. And then what happened was that before I noticed that one of the kids who left before me, one of the teachers was very skeptical that maybe one of the leftover students' backpacks were not checked again. And so she went to double check the school, and because she explained that, oh, we've just had a really stressful day because someone lost their favorite plushie, and I remember the teacher, the mother of the son was like, oh, you could check his backpack again. And so I was really, really, really nervous. I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna check backpacks again. So I took the plushie and I stuffed it in my underpants. I did that. I actually did. And eventually my brother came out, he picked me up, and we went home, and the lady checked my backpack. She checked my backpack, and I was like, do it, check it. I don't know. And so nothing was found, and I went home. And the fox plushie was mine. It was mine.